Hey, class of 2012, this is Melia Dicker. I'm a Silicon Valley alumna from 2003-2004 and also a member of the National Board. I want to give you a sense of life after Public Allies, so I'll tell you a little bit about what I've done since I graduated. Right after I graduated, I started a nonprofit with my good friend Chris Ball. We started a program called Spark. Spark is a nonprofit apprenticeship program for middle school students in the summer or after school. Now it's actually part of the school day, but students get to choose a dream job that they'd like to try out. So we find them a professional in that field. If it could be a doctor or a teacher or a lawyer, they get to try out what it's actually like to do that job in the workplace. Spark started in the summer of 2005 with 12 apprenticeships, and recently it completed its 1,000th apprenticeship. It's already on its way to 2,000 apprenticeships. Now we're based still in San Francisco, programs in Redwood City, LA, Chicago, and soon expanding to Oakland and Philadelphia. In 2008, I decided to leave the Spark staff because as I was seeing these young people so engaged and excited about what they were learning in their apprenticeships, I realized that I hadn't really gotten the chance to explore my own passions, and I had a lot of experiences from school that I hadn't processed fully, and a lot of school wounds that were still painful for me years and years later. So I decided to do a project called Reschool Yourself, which was basically Billy Madison meets Eat, Pray, Love, where I actually got permission to go back to all of my old schools from kindergarten through college and spend a week actually in the classrooms with the current students, processing what it was like for me to go back and remember, and writing about that experience on a blog, reschoolyourself.com. I didn't know when I started Reschool Yourself where it would actually lead me, and it turns out that it led me to Jackson, Mississippi. My partner, now husband, Darren, and I were long distance during that project, but I decided that I wanted a fresh start in a new city. I wanted to try something totally different, so I moved from my native Bay Area to Jackson, and so I'm currently living in the South. When I first moved to Jackson, I started writing for publication as a freelancer, and Darren and I started collaborating on his client work. He was a freelance graphic designer and web designer at the time, and so he needed copy written for his websites and projects. So we started collaborating. My sister eventually started working with us too, and we incorporated into an agency called Creative Distillery. So I'm in the offices right now. We have a graphic and web design and branding agency, and also a co-working space. So these desks you see are available for rent if people want to rent for the day, the week, or the month, and have a shared workspace. So that's one of the things that I do. The other job that I started when I moved to Jackson was for IDEA. A group of educators and I, some that I'd known through Spark, were collaborating on starting a national nonprofit organization to advance the kind of work we were doing on the ground that I had done in Spark, that some had done in democratic schools, and we wanted to advance a national narrative for education that was about students really loving what they were learning and having a lot of involvement and participation instead of sitting, listening, doing what they were told to do. So we started IDEA, the Institute for Democratic Education in America. I've worked with IDEA for the last 3 years doing communications, and with Darren helping to build the website and all the materials and branding from the ground up. As you can tell, I am an entrepreneur at heart. I love starting things and building them and creating everything from scratch, working with really amazing people who share my passions. And so through Spark, through Creative Distillery and IDEA, even Reschool Yourself, just being able to take the process from idea phase to execution. I've also tried to take advantage of alumni opportunities. There was an enterprise fund at the time I graduated when I was starting Spark with Chris, and so we applied and were awarded $3,000 to start a project, and that was actually our first grant for Spark, our first seed money. So Public Allies really helped launch this organization that has grown into having over $1 million budget per year from those $3,000. After I graduated, I joined the National Board of Directors for Public Allies, and that was a wonderful opportunity. At the time, they were looking for 2 alums to join the board. There were already 2 on the board at the time, and I was selected. I was lucky enough to be chosen, and I was the youngest person on the board, still am, and feel very privileged to be in the room with some of the folks, business people, people in government. It's been a real learning experience for me, and also getting to contribute my knowledge and experience to give back to Public Allies has been wonderful. So as you graduate, I really encourage you to make use of the connections that you've made in your class, in your placement with the Public Allies staff, and also with the larger alumni network. There's a ton of people who've had a shared experience with you, and there's an automatic kinship that you have with them. So you can feel free to reach out to me and ask any questions, or if you're looking for something in particular, I'll do the best I can to help you. So again, congratulations, and I wish you the best.